Well, this just been a few hours since we've just been back here, so just a recap on the week. It's easy to get caught up in the day down here and what's happening at the hour and what's happening on the floor debate. I think it's really a good time to just take a deep breath, look back, and see what's happened. Thanks to the taxpayers, the business owners, the investors of our great state, our forecast improved by 100% from what most folks were expecting. We were hoping for $500 to $600 million to come in over $1 billion was great, and thank you to the employers and the employees of our great state. Secondly, two really, really important, what I would call landmark bills, not just for our session here, but this is a generational change in Minnesota, and I cannot be more proud to have worked with Governor Dayton on this, Senator Bonoff, Senator Jen Olson, Representative Garofalo, Representative Mariani on this, the alternative pathways to teacher licensure. On a personal note, my wife was serving on jury duty and was talking to a retired 3M chemist. No kidding. I know I've used it many times here. But she was literally talking. He's going through school right now to get his alternative teacher licensure to go back into the classroom to teach chemistry. And he said, "Oh, really? They did that just today? Wow, that's great. I'm so excited. This is what I've been waiting for." So this isn't just nice hyperbole and around the Capitol. This is real life stuff. And the permitting, my dad sent me, he's on my email update list. Why, I don't know, but my dad has a lot of free time as an engineer. And he said, well, thank God, somebody finally cut red tape. One of you politicians actually went out there and cut some red tape. That's great. For all that happens with the blustering and the blowing around here and the positioning, those are three things that we should be very proud of as a state, looking not only for generational change here, but we're laying the groundwork for the next decade, 2 decades even, maybe 3, down the road as to how our state is going to be positioned to be what Amy and I have talked about many, many times with you, making our state more competitive, being a leader again, and looking forward to the next generation. So they've got just as great an opportunity as we have. So a great week, I think, at the Capitol. Some bipartisan work, but also some determination from some really good authors on this alternative teacher licensure.
And I would like to just take a few moments. There were some comments made by the Senate Minority Leader, Tom Bach, yesterday in his response. I think that they could be interpreted as out of touch. I think he had an Oberstar moment, and I would like to address it. First of all, I would just say that the DFL has created a system of government so convoluted that apparently even they would say that unless you're a career politician, you could not navigate it successfully. Second of all, I was surprised to hear him dismiss private sector, the value of private sector experience. He seemed to indicate that unless you had spent 38 years like Senator Berglund, or 36 years like Senator Langseth, or 34 years like Senator Koch, if they said you'd spent that kind of time in St. Paul, that you could not fulfill the job of citizen legislator. And we are a citizen legislature. And here, Senator Bach seemed to contradict himself a little. He expressed, on one hand, a desire for public input, and then turned around and criticized the Republican caucus for not having government experience. We are the public. 20 of my members were private citizens just 11 weeks ago today. And I think that's a huge advantage. And I intend to put their real-world experience to work for the people of Minnesota in conference committees. I think it can be valuable. The freshmen are not the problem. They're just the folks that put their families and their jobs and their businesses on hold to come in and be the cleanup crew. I guess, if career politicians were the answer, we wouldn't be in this mess. Questions?
Next week's target, when, where, how, and what will they say?
This is your Friday going away present? Yeah.
And who?
We've laid out a process. We're going to be, talking about our targets. We're going to be talking about the who, what, the when, the why, the how. Also, what goes with that, which is innovation, redesign, new initiatives. We'll give you an update next week. Jody will be really informative on when, where, why, and how. Monday, I would highly encourage you at 12:30 to come to a bipartisan group. When you get Keith Downey and Dane Smith and Julie Rosen together at a press conference agreeing on things that government should do. I'm coming, so I don't know if I'll be up here or in the seats watching with you guys, but it's a great way to talk about what, and Keith Downey is Mr. Innovation down here, but as Amy said, it's also part of our freshman group. You know, we've got folks that look around and say, well, why? Why do you do it this way? Why have you always done it that way? Why do we fund? So that's what next week looks like for us, Rachel. We're not going to give away the story here on Friday. We'll make sure you come back again next week, but we will be ready, willing, and able starting next week.
I promise to come back next week. I think you answered none of my questions.
We have we said all along, we released our budget targets, we released our schedule, or what, I shouldn't say we released our budget targets. We said when we are going to, when we're going to be finished by, we're going to follow that schedule.
I'd like to follow up on taking the budget all the way through here just so we understand better. Targets only next week, just per committee. Is that right? Just the one number, and then the committees fill in?
Correct.
Is that right? And then they have to have it to finance and Ways and Means by 25th. But how long do you expect Ways and Means and Finance to have these bills? Will this take a while? Will this be a few weeks when it's in committee, or will they spit them right out? How's that process expected?
Yeah, I don't expect that they'll spit them right out. But the chairs of Ways and Means and the chairs of Finance are working closely, obviously, with the chairs of the different budget divisions or the finance divisions. And so, that will be a process. We're moving. Just once again, I would say that, as you all know, this deadline or this target, the deadline for the finance committees is aggressive. We know that. And so we're going to continue working efficiently and as quickly as possible.
No deadline to get out of those two committees. Is that right?
Well, I mean, again, and making sure that the process, what we've heard all along is, first of all, we're supposed to hurry up, first we're supposed to slow down, then hurry up, now hurry up. So we're going to let the process run its course. Chair Holberg, I have every confidence in the world of her that she'll get a good discussion out of her committee, but she's also not going to let things bog down, so it'll stay in Ways and Means for 4 weeks or something like that.
Are you expecting the same bill in both chambers, or do you expect to have to go to conference committee on this? Have you talked about that at all?
Yeah, I expect that there'll be conference committees.
Is that the time when the conference committees meet? Is that when you bring the administration in? Or do you go ahead and pass basically your caucus bills and then let Dayton do what he wants and come back and bring him in later? When does the administration get involved?
I think we've been involving him, all along the way. I think we've been pretty upfront with not the details, but certainly the big picture. And I would expect that, as always, our cell phones are on, and we would welcome the governor, and we'd be happy to converse with him. We're going to continue our breakfasts and our meetings with the governor. And so I would say that the governor's been a part of it all along and will continue to be.
Yeah, and we expect the same thing in the House. The administration can come in when we're accepting testimony on these bills, give the commissioners for a particular agency or a particular budget area. And yeah, like Amy said, I called the governor this morning on my way over and thanked him for House File 1 and for the alternative teacher pathway. Left him a voicemail. Don't need to call me back, but thank you. That was some work, a commitment to the work that we've been working on since we got here and even since before we were all sworn in. And so we can walk and chew gum at the same time, like Matt said.
So you expect the bills that you send initially to be the compromise bill that you think he'll sign? Is that the goal? Because you've said before that you want to work with him and send him a bill he can sign. So is that the idea, not come back later on in the session with something, but the initial bills will be the ones that you expect him to sign?
In a perfect world, absolutely. But this process.
St. Paul.
Yeah, this is St. Paul. This is democracy. It's ugly. It's messy. But it's the greatest system we've got, and it's one of the best that we here in Minnesota. It's part of along with the hockey tournament and the basketball tournament and the wrestling tournament. It's part of spring. This is the process. We've just tried to give ourselves more time for those negotiations, more time to discuss the money part, and then leaving at the back end some time for policy issues as well.
Since your committees line up anew this year, might the targets line up in a way we haven't seen before between the two chambers?
I think you'll see a mix on that, Mary. We have certainly been, our chairs have been conversing on both sides. I don't think there's going to be complete agreement. We've got very different-minded chairs and very different-minded committees. But certainly I think that so I think you're going to see potentially different numbers, but I think that, in the end, there's been ongoing coordination. So there's agreement in certain areas, and then there'll be obvious tweaks in others.
Yeah, I mean, we're good, but we're not perfect.
Are you planning to release the numbers on the same day?
Actually, I don't know if we've, I think so,
Yeah.
but we haven't gotten that far.
There's a different process in the House from the Senate. We just have a sort of an announcement.
I don't care either way. You guys do
Yeah.
whatever you want, but I'm just wondering. But I'm just wondering if you guys are planning to release them on the same day or not. So.
It's a different process because I believe the House has actually a vote that has to be taken. I wouldn't want it to say, whereas the Senate has a different set of rules for releasing of the targets, so.
Yeah, and there will be, and
But if it's helpful,
some of the differences also are going to be in the chairs and how they put their bills together. But I mean, you're not going to see wildly different numbers or wildly different bills. It's just, as we've seen with some of the, the teacher licensure, House File 1, there's been some differences. Maybe, allowing for some time for the governor and the administration to weigh in, and then to actually get a final product that he can sign. So.
What will we see for funding for the courts? Is that one area that you won't cut the funding or increase the funding? What's going to happen there?
I guess you'll see next week, Tim. I don't want to comment on the certain areas yet.
So you guys won't say which day you're going to release the targets yet? Is it going to be Monday? Can you rule out Monday? Or, can you give us any specificity? Is it sometime before midnight Friday?
It won't be Monday, we can tell you. We just gave you a preview of Monday's press conference with Dane Smith, Keith Downey, and Julie Rosen. Not saying, I'm just saying, that's a pretty good lineup to participate. But Jody will be more than available and give you specifics and plenty of time to be prepared.
What's the topic of that Monday press conference?
Government redesign, some of the things we've been talking about, some of the things we've been used in other states that worked really well for innovation, for, we introduced something around here that's called lean design, and what everybody at the Capitol thinks, it's like this, lean on somebody to do what I want. Lean design means you look at all your functions in government, or in your functions in your business, and find out, if we renegotiated our contract lately with our supplier, that's in real world, that's what lean design means. Down here, it's lean on somebody to get them to sign your bill. So those concepts have to have their own time and have to have a press conference of their own, just to introduce to folks down here at the Capitol. This is how folks in the real world look at their cost structure, look at their distribution model, whatever it may be, as a way to help make it more efficient and more effective.
I understand that you're concentrating on the spending side and that you're against what you call job-killing tax increases. Where are you on the expansion of gambling?
Well, we haven't had any bills introduced yet this year. I don't think. Every day, one member can introduce a bill each day. But again, we're focused on what we're going to have to spend, what's in the checkbook. We're not going to start talking about those things first. If there are bills that come up later on that folks are passionate about, the governor's passionate about, the other caucuses are passionate about, that want to be discussed, we will absolutely be willing to discuss them.
It sure seems like both the governor and you guys are staring at each other, waiting for the other one to say, let's do gambling. That's the way it appears. You guys are not ruling it out. The governor's saying he's open to it, but he wants to see you guys take a leap on this. Is that at all what's going on here?
No, I mean, like Amy said, Tom, we've been really aggressive with our deadlines, and this is really hard work. I mean, this isn't just, put together a spreadsheet, knock it out. I mean, not that we can't walk and chew gum,
I
but...
understand that, but what you
Right.
What you said was, well, if the governor wants this, you said this again yesterday, or if some member's passionate about it, which seems to be indicating, well, if someone really wants this, maybe we'll talk about it later, which is leaving the whole option open.
Well, I mean, it's no surprise that our members down here at the Capitol have introduced Racino, I think, every year that I've been here. So I think slots and bars have been introduced every year. Electronic pull tabs has been introduced. These things have come up at the Capitol. They get discussed. Sometimes they get voted on and passed. Sometimes they don't. It's no different this year than it has been in past years. So we're just saying we're going to make sure that, just like in the past, we have all the same opportunities.
Philosophically, where are you on the expansion of gambling, each of you individually?
I'll let me go first.
Yeah, I mean, I've had votes on that. What I would just say is, and I know it's important and people want to know sort of those kind of questions, but truly what has been important to our caucus, and I assume from Kurt's, is that they look at this budget, they know that Minnesota businesses and families are hurting, and they look at a state budget that is set to grow at 8.7%, nearly 9% in the next biennium, and they say, we should be able to live within those numbers. We should be able to reform and prioritize and set a budget that lives within that. And so we'll have all these discussions. They'll come. But that is truly, truly the focus, and that's what you're going to see reflected in our budget when they're rolled out.
So, but philosophically, where are you?
Well, I mean, I've been a co-author of some of these bills in the past. I have not signed on this year, so I'm focused on the job at hand, which is the current budget and getting it out, because we've been told by lots of folks around here, including many of you, to get our plan on the table, so that's what we're going to be focused on. My philosophy on gambling, gaming as a whole, I don't think is important right now.
Why is it not important? You're the leader of the House.
Well, again, because we're focusing on the budget part first. We'll get to that part. I've had my name on bills. I've also not been on bills, so I'm pretty clear.
You can walk and chew gum at the same time, so I'm just asking you to put a piece of gum in your mouth on gambling. Are you chewing it or not?
At this time, Rachel, I'm not prepared to talk about it. Not something I'm focused on right now.
Besides the press conference next week, what's happening? These briefings are supposed to tell us what's coming up on the floor and that type of thing. We haven't heard anything.
No, next week is going to be heavy budget discussions with the chairs and the finance chair. So a lot of the big bills have moved. I'd like to get some movement on the nuclear bill potentially next week. So we've got that conference committee formed. So I would hope that we could get some meetings going with that. But because of the aggressive deadlines that we've set for ourselves, the budget has got to be, I said in the beginning, we're not going to do a lot of things. We don't need to do a lot of things. We need to do a few things really well, and we need to do a budget really well. And so.
Any idea when the conference committee on the nuclear stuff might be meeting?
Yeah, we haven't set a date yet, but we'll let you know as soon as we do. And I would hope to get, that's another, it's kind of along with the permitting, along with the alternative pathways. We did just open up the door yesterday in Energy Committee on lifting the coal moratorium. And so that will be a vote in Energy Committee in the House, or Senate, I'm sorry, on Tuesday. And so you're going to see some definite movement in energy next week.
Yeah, and to your point, Don, yes, coal moratorium will be up in the Commerce Committee next week as well, also focusing on the nuke moratorium committee, and then, of course, our budget targets will be our next week. So it'll be, again, another energy focus in committee work, and then we're going to work on the budget targets.
So you don't expect any major bills on the floors?
No, not this time, no. Just in
Committees
committee.
have to be working.
Yeah.
We've been cutting into their time, so.
Senator Koch, earlier Representative Zellers said that he called the governor and thanked him for signing House File 1. It felt like maybe an up and down week with the governor. You know, he's signing a couple of things. He wasn't so happy about the tax plan being thrown out there. He even, kind of tried to out one of your Senate chairs by saying Senator Ortman came to him with a revenue increase deal. What'd you learn about the governor? He called you guys juvenile this week. Where's the relationship? What'd you learn about each other, I guess?
Well, to say, I guess, a little disappointed with those comments. It kind of goes to, what we're about. What we were very pleased with is that despite whatever was being said yesterday, in the end, we came together on that permitting bill, and the governor signed it, and we've done some really good things. Just got a kind of an anecdotal story this morning that a member wrote to the Minnesota Chamber and was talking about one of his clients who's intending to file an EIS later on in the year, and he was told by his consultants that due to this legislation, it could cut 3 to 5 months off his process and $200,000 to $300,000 off the cost of this EIS. And so, that's exciting. When you hear that, you just can't help but be pleased with the work that got done yesterday. And got signed.
He said the relationship had been respectful. I wondered if he was using that in the past tense. Do you still think it's a respectful relationship after yesterday?
I'll let the governor decide, and if he thought his comments yesterday were respectful, I'll let him and the public decide on that.
What do you think?
Like I said, I didn't, I was a little concerned with the comments. And I think my remarks on what Senator Tom Bach said yesterday kind of speak for themselves as well. Mary.
So the gloves off? Is the nice part of session over?
I won't say the nice part is over. We'll still be continuing to meet and speak with the governor.
Some lawmakers met with Vikings ownership, and I know there isn't a bill at all, but there is a potential for a lockout that's going to happen with the NFL. How does this, but how does the fact that, billionaire owners could be holding out, locking out millionaire players affect what could happen with this Vikings bill this year?
Well, I mean, far be it for anyone in politics to get involved in private contract negotiation. We've said all along when we're talking about this, once you get a site, once you get a building, put a price tag on it, have a local partner, we can get there. We haven't gotten to that point yet. I don't think, some of the folks around this, the Arden Hills project in Ramsey County, Ted Mondale, I know has been, talking with Minneapolis and Hennepin County delegations. So, I think those folks are going to continue no matter what, because this isn't something that it hasn't been, come in last year, here's what we want, and then get it the next year type thing. These things take a long time. I mean, the Twins are the model for how long you have to push this rock up a hill. So I don't think it's going to, affect how they're working on these relationships and how they're working. I think that's just part of the process from whoever is going to come up with this local partnership and local or a spot, they're going to continue to work on it. So I don't think it's going to affect. It's not going to affect what Amy and I do. Down here we've got our own mess to worry about. We're not going to get into their mess.
Are you saying you don't think a stadium bill will pass this year, or did I misunderstand you?
Yeah, no, I just maybe misunderstood me. We don't have anything to really work, like, as Tom said, we don't have a plan, we don't have a stadium, we don't have a site, but we're, that process has to work its way through first before we can get to it, so we know what we're talking about. All right, well,
Thanks, everybody.